Welcome back to the Tracy Take. Today, Ryan and I, we will be doing our second mock draft before the NFL draft because, well, I don't know if you've been watching anything in the football world, but there has been a boatload of changes that have been going on. Russell Wilson's on a new team, Matt Ryan's on a new team, a lot of players on new teams, and so I think that only means it's fair for a new draft. But before we get into that, if this is your first time here, subscribe to this channel, and we like to grow our community up as great as possible, and we love having any new followers and hearing your guys' opinions on the content that we create. Like this video, share this video with your football friends, and Ryan, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So when we did our last mock draft, it was kind of a simple routine off-season, going right before the combines, and well, all hell has broken loose since then.
Yeah.
So a lot of draft picks, a lot of changes, a lot of draft picks and players have moved, and really throwing a whole wrench kind of in the system. A lot of signings because free agency has started now. We're doing this now on March 27th, I believe is when. Yeah. So I say let's just kind of get into it. Last time we did is a little bit more formal, where Ryan and I, we kind of went through the draft and talked about it off camera. This time it's going to be more just kind of a podcast. We're going to talk about each team and our thoughts on who they should go, and they kind of come to an agreement on who we think that the team should pick. So I think, Ryan, let's just kind of start it off with Jacksonville. Unlike last year, there's still a lot of discussion on who's going to be the first overall pick. Now to kind of this point, who do you think Jacksonville is going to take first overall?
I think if you look at their needs, wide receiver, tight end, O-line, D-line, linebacker, DB, they kind of still need a bunch of things all over the board, even though they have spent, a shitload of money this offseason. So with that being said, I think they're going to take the best player available, which in my opinion is Aiden Hutchinson. I'm not necessarily sure how you feel about that, but I just think adding that edge piece is a cornerstone to their defense. I think that's the way that they'll go and really kind of solidify some of that pass rush that they did not have last year.
Yeah. I don't think they can go wrong. There are a couple picks that would be the wrong pick, but if they're taking one of these top four guys right here that we're seeing on our screen, Aiden Hudson would be great. I don't think I would take Kyle Hamilton personally.
No, not as a safety.
The only one, and a guy I've started to see creep up is Ike Ekwonu, because he's a big tackle, but he also has guard capabilities as well. You have Cam Robinson out there. They just re-signed him, the left tackle. You could sign Evan Neal, and then you have him then as a swing tackle startup. But I don't think actually Evan Neal would be a good swing tackle, because I think they also have their right tackle position locked up as well. So if you were going to go focus more on inside, try and build depth, I think Ike Ekwonu would be there. But that being said, a lot of people forget going into last season, they had one of the best interior offensive lines. And if they're able to re-sign and keep those pieces going into the 2022 season, then really their offensive line wouldn't need too much work. And so, I think Aiden Hutchinson would be a great pick here.
Yeah, I think we're both in agreement that Aiden Hutchinson is probably the best player, one of the safest prospects, and should go over here. So I'm going to take him here at number 1.
Yeah.
All right. Sadly for the Detroit Lions, they will not be able to have that come-home story for Aiden Hutchinson. I think that would be great, but they decided that they were going to win, I think, 2 out of their last 3 or 3 out of their last 4 games and blow the number 1 overall pick. So they kind of did that to themselves. But honestly, picking here number 2, I think is interesting for them. They don't really have a whole lot of offensive line issues. So they are definitely going to be focused more on the defensive side of the ball. And lucky for them, I think 3 out of the top 5 prospects left right here are all defensive guys. So I think it's really just whichever way you want to go. Do you want to pair Kyle Hamilton with Jeff Okudah, or do you want to have 2 shutdown corners and Derek Stingley and Jeff Okudah, or do you want to try to replace Trey Flowers, who they just released this season, with Kayvon Thibodeau?
See, so I would lean towards the Kayvon Thibodeau. Their offensive side of the ball, they can improve. They could add another receiver weapon to go alongside Amon-Ra St. Brown. But as you said, Jared Goff is a fine piece. I mean, he is kind of your stopgap QB until because you guys they're not planning on being competitive this year. But however, one of the issues though where they need to improve on is in that defensive front seven. The secondary actually isn't horrible. They were just decimated by injuries last year, and I hope that Jeff Okudah and company is able to come back strong. But I think taking Kayvon Thibodeau right here would be a great spot. My one thing with taking, I mean, Kyle Hamilton arguably is the best player in the draft, but taking a safety this early, I feel like you're leaving a lot of other value out on the board to a position that contributes a lot, but doesn't almost contribute every single play. You know, since the safety is a free, Kayvon Thibodeau, he can be your run stopper, he can be your pass stopper. He's going to contribute, or he can contribute every single play.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think he's a guy that can come in and make that defense better day one. And I think safeties, while they can make great plays, like you said, they're going to have a few great plays, and then other plays they're probably not going to be a factor. And I think Kyle Hamilton might be able to break the mold on that a little bit. However, his positional value is not as great, in my opinion, as the other two guys on the board. And so I think Kayvon Thibodeau, and we both agree on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. And then up next is the Houston Texans. And I know I just kind of bashed Kyle Hamilton, but I do like him in Houston. They just got rid of Justin Reed. I think versatility-wise, he is kind of what they need. Because even though he is a safety, he does have a lot of cover capabilities and then run capabilities. So I'm definitely interested to see what you think here.
So, yeah, if the Texans didn't get the 13th pick, I maybe would go potentially a different route. But since they have another pick, 10 picks later after this, taking the best player available, I think is going to be the best option just because the Texans have so many needs. I like how it says that on their needs every position, which is true. It just, even on the top of my head, the Texans, it's like, they could do running back. They need another receiver. Like they need everything. Yeah. So if they didn't have another pick, I would say maybe take a tackle, maybe take another cornerback. But Kyle Hamilton is going to be a game-changing player. And I know we just talked about that with the Lions, but the Lions only have their next pick is going to be the last pick of the first round. So there's a lot of gap. It's going to be a big talent drop-off. There won't be a huge talent drop-off between the tackles and cornerbacks here to what it will be like in the 13th pick. I think taking Kyle Hamilton right here is the best play.
Yeah. I think it's the safest pick, and I think he will add another level to that defense. So, I think that's a good one right here. And then up next is the New York Jets. Interesting right here that they only have a few needs. I think one of the underrated needs of the Jets is offensive line. However, with 3 tackles left on the board, and then they pick again at 10, I'm not sure if you'd rather take Derek Stingley or one of the other corners in Trent McDuffie or Ahmad Gardner. Just kind of, what are you thinking here for them?
Well, I think in last mock draft, one of the things I said, they focused so much on the offensive side of the ball last year, and I think they saw great gains. And they could do another offensive line pick. I think that they'll be able to find value a little bit later on in the draft in the offensive line pick. But where they really need help right now, in my opinion, the thing that jumps out is just going to be secondary. So taking the top cornerback that is on the list. So if that is Derek Stingley Jr., if that's Trent McDuffie, if that's Ahmad Gardner, or I'm blank, the Clemson guy.
Andrew Booth.
Yeah. So if that's who they find, which PFF does not find Andrew Booth. Andrew Booth very good. So I mean, I'm just going to say, for me, best player available, it's going to be Derek Stingley Jr.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, to me, I'm a huge Trent McDuffie fan. I think Trent McDuffie is going to go a lot higher than what people think, because I see a lot of people that have him go late teens, early 20s.
Okay.
I think Trent McDuffie is a top 10 talent. To me, there's a lot of injury. There's a low floor with Derek Stingley, but he has the highest ceiling of all these guys. And so I do think that they should take him here. But I definitely think that this would be a sleeper pick for a guy like Trent McDuffie or Ahmad Gardner if the Jets really want to go with a man blitz scheme. I think Ahmad Gardner is the best press man corner in this draft. So,
okay, well, let's take a look here and see because the Jets. What other needs do you think they have if they think that they can get Trent McDuffie potentially at the 10th pick?
I see. So I don't think Trent McDuffie makes it past the Falcons. I don't think he makes it there. But if the Jets were to want to wait, I think going with Akim Ekwonu is probably the best pick because he can play right tackle or either of the guard positions.
Okay.
So that to me would be the other option here.
Okay. All right. See, so I think their offense, not like it's set, but I think going defense. I think they need to go focus on defense.
Defense. Okay.
Yeah.
So, then let's go. Let's go Derek Stingley. I think he has the most likely to be the best corner in this draft as long as he can stay healthy.
Oh, okay. All right, then let's do it. I like it. Yeah, nothing against Icky, but
yeah.
All right. Well, now I will say, since we're moving on now to the other New York or New Jersey team, the New York Giants. Well, now we just mentioned his name, but Icky is the first one that's coming to my mind. I mean, because that offensive line is absolutely decimated, and I know they're having another pick here in a little bit. Would not be surprised if they double dip here.
Oh, no, not at all. I think Akim Ekwonu is the guy because he has the most position versatility. I think he has you're kind of throwing two cupcakes at the wall and hoping one of them sticks here with this one pick. And I think that's what the Giants need.
What the hell?
You never heard that?
Throwing two cupcakes at the wall and hoping one sticks?
Well, you throw stuff at the wall and hope it sticks. That's the saying.
Yeah, but not cupcakes.
Okay, all right. You're throwing two T-bone steaks at the wall and hoping one sticks. How about that?
That's even worse.
Well, because he's a big guy.
Okay, all right.
Whatever.
Well, I think this one, though, with the Giants, they need offensive line help. And it's I like that guard center. I think Icky can play guard. I think because he's sitting a little bit more at around 6'4", 6'5", right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily the height. It has more to do with the arm length. And I think he's like kind of right on that border.
Okay.
But he has the ability to play both.
Yeah.
Especially out in space. He's one of the more athletic guys.
Well, and that's one of the things I'm excited about, too, is his tape on for the run blocking. Imagine if Saquon Barkley could have a competent offensive line in front of him.
Oh, yeah.
And create these holes. Because I think, it's funny, I was golfing with a buddy of mine this morning, and we were talking about how Penn State doesn't have good running backs. He's like, Saquon Barkley, he's been hurt all the time. And I remember, and my point was, how much of that is his fault, though? Because if you go look, he is just getting
how many times is he
hammered.
getting his legs taken out from under him in the backfield? Like, how many cheap, or not cheap, but like unnecessary hits is he taking just to try and get back to the line of scrimmage?
So, and it's nothing against, like, maybe he might not pan out even if he did, but it's like I feel like we haven't seen what Saquon Barkley can do. And if you start building an offensive lineup, I think Icky's going to be a great start for that.
Yeah. So let's take him here. And then up next, I mean, could a more perfect scenario happen for the Carolina Panthers here with Evan Neal falling to 6?
Well, if they would make the right decision and take an offensive tackle here, but I've seen a lot of people talk about them taking a quarterback here, and I think that would be a horrible decision. I think that would be an absolutely horrible decision. But I agree with you. I mean, if Evan Neal falls this far, I mean, this is clear cut for me. You take Evan Neal.
Well, I think he's the clear cut best pure tackle in this class. I think at left or right tackle, because he played both in college at a high level.
Yeah.
I think he is going to be successful at one of those positions. He does not have the position versatility as the same position versatility as Icky, just because he's so big. He's 6'7", like 360.
Yeah.
Like you can't put that at guard. So I really think that he he's a perfect fit here because they need both of those positions. So whichever one he does best at, I think he'll play. And then they have the 38th pick. They can come back and get another guy if they want to double dip that early. So to me, I think Evan Neal is the clear pick here.
One of these, Evan Neal, he's more of a left tackle, and they have Taylor Morton, who was their only competent offensive lineman last year, who plays right tackle. So I think he'd slot in perfectly. I similar to the Falcons, I think that it would be the only mistake you could make here, in my opinion, is taking a quarterback. Just with what the Panthers need. And it's only because it's not this QB draft class is not. It is so many unknowns or something like that. Last year's QB draft class is like there's 5 QBs that are clear-cut, standout franchise changers. And
the guys that have the potential to be franchise chaser. These guys, there's a lot lower of a floor for these guys. So
100% agree. Yes,
Evan Neal right here. Okay, up next is New York's second top 10 pick, the New York Giants. That is. Do you think that they'll double dip? And another thing, do you want to double dip here for them, or do you want to look into a cornerback? They did spend a lot of money and invest in Kadarius Toney in the draft last year at the wide receiver position. Is there anything else that you're kind of feeling here? Maybe like Trayvon Walker, pair him back up with Azeez Ojulari. Is there anybody else that you're kind of feeling here besides Charles Cross?
Well, that's what I'm trying to think of. What other offensive linemen there are? My one thing, and now I kind of see about that, and that's a great point about adding Kadarius Toney. I think, and if I'm not mistaken, they also re-signed Sterling Shepard as well to another year. So they have some weapons, but however, though, it's no one is really going to be able to be successful until they give Daniel Jones some time to throw in the pocket for these guys to do their routes. But Drake London is a great receiver. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams are all great receivers. I wonder, though, but then if they wait until the second round and then get a Jahan Dotson or David Bell, and how big of a drop-off would that be? But sure enough, this offensive line, if Charles Cross is going to be the guy that then helps solidify their offensive line. But is there anything you think on the defensive side of the ball that they need? Like, I think defensively they're I would say they're fairly solid.
I think that they are fairly decent at the corner position. I think Trayvon Walker actually would be a good pick for them here, because I think that there is a lot of value in the second round at like the guard position. And I feel like if you draft 2 tackles in the first round, you already have Andrew Thomas, who is a solid left tackle. I think Akem Ekwonu kind of slots in as a solid right tackle. And Charles Cross hasn't really ever played anywhere but left tackle from what I've done. And so I feel like if you take another tackle here, you're kind of you're going to have too many cooks in the kitchen to keep up with my food slogans. So I think Trayvon Walker is probably the best fit here. He's a guy that's like really exploded onto the scene just with his testing numbers and his overall size. And so I think that's probably the best pick.
Okay.
And it's, how do you feel about that?
I like that. I don't think that. I think focusing on the trenches would be a solid spot for them. I agree. They already had. I think if they only had the one pick, I think they need to go offensive line. But since they got Icky, I think that they can go with Trayvon Walker here, and I think that'd be perfect.
Okay, sounds good. All right, and up next are the Atlanta Falcons. Right, the Matt Ryan-less Atlanta Falcons. We'll have to get your opinion on that in a later video. But what do you think they should do here?
Well, there's so much. I mean, similar to the Texans, I'm actually surprised it doesn't say everything for the Falcons. And I think trading Matt Ryan, I think, was, at the end of the day, the right thing to do. I think what made it the right thing to do was in signing Marcus Mariota, because one of the things that they can't do in this draft is use this pick on a quarterback. There's not enough value here. That would be an extreme stretch. I think it would be a horrible pick for Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith to take. But honestly, with the way that this, like I'm looking at these 5 picks right here, and there's even a couple other receivers as well, I would honestly be happy with any of these guys. I would love to see them bolster up the offensive line to protect any future quarterback coming through. But that being said, though, is they have another lockdown corner on the other side. I think it would be great. Trent McDuffie, I think, would go extremely well with A.J. Terrell. But I don't think they'll go corner here because there's a lot of corners in this class. I think probably one of the biggest things, and I am kind of surprised I would say this, but a lot has changed since the mock draft. I think they're going to go with, I think we're going to see our first receiver come off the board here. Losing Calvin Ridley for a year, Russell Gage was gone. They don't have any real, I mean, there are some free agent targets, like I've seen Jarvis Landry, I've seen Sammy Watkins, but those guys are not the elite level guys. Yeah. So I wouldn't be upset with any of these picks, but for me, I think they're going to go with the best receiver here, and so I'll defer to you then as well. Who do you think is going to be the best receiver for them to take? Would it be Garrett Wilson, Drake London?
Yeah, Garrett Wilson.
Is
Garrett Wilson, in my opinion, is wide receiver one. If you just want like a do-it-all receiver, he has high 4.3, low 4.4 speed. He can run any route in the book. He's going to give you yards after the catch. He's going to give you jump ball capabilities. I mean, he's not Jamar Chase. He's not going to come in and catch 100 balls for 1,400 yards and 10, 11 touchdowns, whatever he did.
Yeah, no.
But he'll come in and he'll give you consistent wide receiver play at that position from day one. And so I think if you guys are going to take a receiver here, I think Garrett Wilson is that guy. I think it's a little high for him. I don't necessarily like any of these receivers in the top 10. To me, I would go Trent McDuffie and solidify that core. I think this cornerback group is very top heavy, but this is your team. I think you get the final say on the pick.
Yeah, well, so I would love for them to focus on the interior, but I do understand, and so this pick would kind of go against what I preach a lot on the shows, but they don't have any receivers to throw to, and I mean, maybe I don't think they'll be able to sign Jarvis Landry because they don't have much cap space. They don't have much cap space, I don't think, for Sammy Watkins. They can maybe try and get some run-of-the-mill $1 million guys. But they are – yeah, I'm just going to go with Garrett Wilson here. I think this is going to be the first pick. I think that this is what it's kind of lining up to be. As I said, I won't be upset with any of the picks unless if it is a quarterback. That's the only thing I don't like.
No, I agree with that. I don't think any of these quarterbacks are top 20 guys.
Yeah. It's just they're just in a very interesting spot right now. So you're just trying to find guys that can focus on. But when I look at Charles Cross, I don't know if he would fit. We have Jake Matthews. Charles Cross, we would be looking at right tackle. But then there's plenty of other guard talent and tackle offensive line talent later on in the draft that they can add value in.
Yeah. But next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks. They made a blockbuster trade for Russell Wilson and now have the 9th overall pick. So I am really curious here. I also think Pete Carroll would like a Trent McDuffie type of corner, a very versatile guy who's super athletic. But I think the loss of Dwayne Brown and solidifying that offensive line for Drew Lock is another big need. What do you think is going on in Pete Carroll's mind up there in the rainy city of Seattle?
Well, it's funny though, and it's like Pete Carroll. What made him famous was his defensive stalwart, the Legion of Boom. But what made Russell Wilson leave was the lack of having an offensive line. So I'm looking at these top 2 picks here, and it really is is Pete Carroll going to do what is best for the team, or is he going to go and try and try and recreate that Legion of Boom? In this scenario, I would pick Charles Cross because you have so many other needs. And also, when you do get that next young quarterback, you're going to want to have protection. Because unlike with the Falcons in that last pick, you have DK Metcalf, you have Taylor Lockett, you have Chris Carson's, they have weapons,
they just need something to block for them.
Yeah. And on the defensive side, now it is Jamal Adams. He is getting older. They gave up a lot for him. But defensive side, well, they were one of the worst pass defenses though in the league last year.
Yeah.
But
That's where, so like to me, I look at it and I look at who are the corners that are available after this.
Yeah.
And there's really not a lot. And then I look at the tackles that are available after this. And you got Bernard Raymond, Trevor Penning. Let's see. Okay, I guess also not
Zion Johnson's another one.
Yeah, Zion
just
Johnson.
guard. Yeah, just any offensive line.
Yeah,
Kenyon Green.
Kenyon Green. You just have more options, I think, after Trent McDuffie. So that's kind of why I'm leaning towards Trent McDuffie here at 9.
I like that, and I think that's a really good pick as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great point about the how many corners are left.
Yeah, I think the lack of top talent of top corners in this draft is going to push them a little further up the board.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of corners, the New York Jets picked Derek Stingley in this mock draft at 4. So at 10 now, they are looking for someone else to kind of bring into that group. Who do you think is one of the guys that they are looking to bring in?
Well, Red's guy right there, Ahmad Gardner, would be a place to start if they want to go on the cornerback side. Now here they have some versatility on kind of which route they want to go, just on best player per position. You have Charles Cross, and you also have Bernard Raymond as well, who would be available. I think Bernard Raymond would be a little high at this pick. But if you'd want to get Drake London and then pair him up in that receiving core with Corey Davis and then who is it? Elijah Moore. Yeah, as well.
That's the pick that I am thinking of that I think would benefit that team the most. I think it's a little silly to double dip at corner. And I think that offensive line played pretty well. I know they lost like Morgan Moses. But I forget who's their left tackle who got hurt. I forget his name at the moment.
I'm blanking on it also.
But I think Drake London here is probably the right pick.
Yeah, I think so as well. Because as you said, I think in our last draft, we had them double up, and that's just so much, and
that's a lot to put on corners.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As you like to say, throw 2 cupcakes at a wall. Hopefully, one of them sticks. But in this case, though, I think adding Drake London here, and then now as that offense gets more elite, Zach Wilson's getting another year under his belt. That offense becomes pretty deadly.
I think that's a great add right there in Drake London.
Okay.
But so up next is the Washington Commanders. But they are in an interesting position. They just traded for Carson Wentz. Chase Young is coming back off of injury. And they have quarterback, linebacker, and safety over here. But I really think that cornerback is a need for them. Do you agree? I think that was the downfall to their defense last season.
They still have one of the best front 7 in the league. I think getting a little bit deeper in linebacking core would be huge. Maybe Devin Lloyd could fit here as a stretch, but they were one of the worst. They had one of the worst secondaries in the league last year, just statistically. Part of that might also be who their defensive coordinator is, Jack Del Rio, if he is still there. Not entirely sure, but I agree with you. We had Ahmad Gardner here last time, and I think Ahmad Gardner would be absolutely great in this pick as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is probably the downfall to that defense. And if they can add a good press man corner and then let that defensive line pin their ears back and get after quarterbacks, that's when that defense is number one.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, isn't that what Ahmad Gardner, like that was Cincinnati's thing?
Yeah, that is Cincinnati to a T. Is press man. Ahmad Gardner doesn't get as much credit in zone, but he is famous, I guess famous or infamous, depending on which side of the game you're on. But that's what he's known for, is going one-on-one and shutting down wide receivers. In one-on-one situations, he never gave up a touchdown throughout 4 years in college. Just a lockdown corner. And so I think he's a good fit here for Washington. All right, the Minnesota Vikings, NFC North. Who catches your eye here right off the bat for them?
Well, I'm looking at that and I'm trying to see. It's only because it's a fit, and they have so many. They have a lot of needs as well. One guy who would, I think, immediately come in and he would start for them would be Tyler Linderbaum. He would take care of that center position. He's the only true center that is even, I think, worth kind of being picked in the top 50, maybe even top 75. However, though, I'm looking, I will say, you've seen Charles Cross fall this far. George Karlaftis has fallen this far. It would be tough to pass up on George Karlaftis at this point. And I would say cornerback would be the primary need, but there's not too many corners that would be worth taking at this point. There'd be kind of a stretch here, I would think. Yeah, Andrew Booth, and then you start to get into
Elam.
Yeah, and potentially those guys could fall to their second pick. So,
or they could package that and then a third or fourth and move back up.
Something maybe
like to get there. I think of this pass rush and the quarterbacks in that division. You got Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, and then who's the fourth?
Jared Goff.
Oh, Jared Goff. Okay. Yeah. But I think that George Karlaftis would be a really good fit because he is a very good edge setter against the run, but then he also isn't lacking in the pass rush department. I really think that he is a good pick here.
Yeah, I like that one. I don't like having QB on there because they just got Kellen Mond last year, and I think Kirk Cousins
extended Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, for another 2 years. So I don't like that QB pick or need. Maybe they could go offensive line as well, but yeah, I agree with you. I think at this point, George Karlaftis, I don't think you can really pass him up.
Yeah, I know. And then next up are the Houston Texans, who earlier picked Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. What are you thinking? You got a couple tackles left on the board, a linebacker. Apparently, to this again, they need every position. So what are you thinking?
I mean, who do you think is the best player here? I mean, based on what PFF says. I mean, I will say, not going to lie, the first name that when you scroll by, looking at Jameson Williams right there.
Yeah.
You know.
The thing with him is I think that Houston needs players to come in right now.
Fair. Yeah.
And I just don't think he'll be even remotely close to ready.
No.
Because, 6 months puts him beginning of July. And that's if everything in his rehab goes well.
Yeah.
So I like him as a player, but that injury really scares me and kind of knocks him out of the top half of the first round for me.
Yeah. No, and that's a great point as well. And so, I guess maybe looking at Charles Cross, Devin Lloyd, Bernard Raymond as well. And so,
this is tough. I think Cross might be the best one. I think you got to protect Davis Mills the best that you can. But I also think they're in a case of they just need good players, and I think Charles Cross is the best player right now.
Well, especially then him falling this far in this scenario. Who even knows if he'll fall this far? Probably not. But I think that would be a solid pick for them. Yeah, because they're at this point, they're like, it's kind of, I feel like it's a blessing and a curse where they're at. It's like, hey, we need everything. So it's different if it's like, if you're like the Bengals, for example, hey, let's really only evaluate offensive line members,
Yeah, exactly.
So, but then there was we need to evaluate every single position and then see which one is going to contribute to the team best.
Yeah. And I think they're kind of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so up next is the Baltimore Ravens. They are in an interesting spot. I think a lot of their struggles last year came through injury.
Mm-hmm.
But the AFC North now with Cleveland and Cincinnati, I think are the two clear front runners with Deshaun Watson coming to Cleveland, and obviously Cincinnati going to the Super Bowl.
Hey, don't forget Mitch Trubisky.
Oh, I did actually forget about him. But I think the Steelers are going to be irrelevant
Yeah,
for a little while.
I think so too.
But what do you think that they're going to do? Because this says they need D-line DB. I think they needed to invest a little bit more in the offensive line category, keep Lamar upright, and also give him a little more opportunity in the run game, get some athletic guys out in space. What do you think is going to go on here? I'll scroll down a little bit so you have.
Well, I would say that was my first thought as well. Was where's the O-line? Because that was one of the things, and it was amazing. Honestly, just considering where they ranked at offensively with their PFF grades, how well they were able to do with two former really good running backs in Latavius Murray and then also Devontae Freeman. They both, between the two of them, had a total of over 1,000 rushing yards. So it was impressive what they were able to do. I think a lot of that was based off scheming. So maybe, but that also being said, if that offensive line was better, and then once when J.K. Dobbins comes back, Gus Edwards comes back, who knows how much better or how much more effective they can be on the ground with younger, fresher bodies, essentially.
Yeah.
But looking at it here, though, I mean, also considering the division that they're in, having a strong defensive front is much needed. And, I mean, now, see, there's not really a cornerback right now that
I like.
That I like. I'm looking at Devontae Wyatt and
that's
and
the one
Dean.
I like I think Devontae Wyatt is a good fit. I think he gives them a lot of versatility because he can kind of play the edge or kind of kick in a little as a tackle.
Yeah.
And I think him, Odafe Owe, I know Calais Campbell is still a free agent, but I think that is probably I think the best pick for them because I think there's a lot of
I will say
offensive line that they can get later.
What about Jordan Davis? I mean, because if you're going up against the Browns, who are this run stop, who is this running machine, put that big boy right there, and it's going to loosen up
I like
everything.
that. I do. I think that's a good fit.
You know, and so I know everyone's wanting. I know the Chargers fans are wanting him there, but
yeah.
I mean, if I'm the Ravens and I got to look at D-line, they've got a good defensive front to begin with, and you add more depth, and you put Jordan Davis up there over center. It's going to be really tough for the Browns, for Joe Mixon and the Bengals, Najee Harris.
With the Steelers, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's a good fit.
You think that's a good one? All right.
I think that's a good one. All right. The first of 3 Eagles picks now. Where do you think they go?
I think to me, I'm looking at Devin Lloyd is, they need linebacking help. I think the Eagles have one of the weaker linebacking cores in the league. And sitting there, Devin Lloyd is either him or Nakobe Dean, whichever one. But I think
Devin Lloyd is a better scheme fit. I think he is much more of like a general of the defense. Whereas Nakobe Dean, I mean, he's small and athletic and can blow up plays. Not that he doesn't play with good football IQ. It's just I think Devin Lloyd is kind of known for his football IQ.
Yeah.
So
no, I understand.
Right. Devin Lloyd with the first one.
So now I'm trying to think here. Well, I think one thing the Eagles will be thinking about here is looking at the 2 teams behind them till their next pick is who are they going to be taking. So the Chargers, to me personally, I think they're going to be taking defensive front. So they're looking at Devontae Wyatt. They're looking at maybe Nakobe Dean. Who else is there? Let's scroll down a little bit more. David Ajabo, but he just tore his Achilles. Jermaine Johnson. Actually, Jermaine Johnson, I think, would be really good there.
That's what I was going to say. I like Jermaine Johnson. Another guy who I like here, who's kind of a dark horse, is Jameson Williams. I know he's going to be a year out from really like being super competitive. However, especially with the team that they have right now, they're not overly pass heavy. So I think some of the teams that might have the luxury of waiting, I think the Eagles might be one of them. Especially they're going to add 2 other first-rounders this year.
Well, and that's another thing, too, especially as the next team that is in between this pick and then the Eagles' next pick at 19 is going to be the Saints, and the Saints need receivers.
Yeah.
They need receivers. So, I like that pick, especially then it's like, hey, we can sit on you for a little bit. And, No, like take time to heal, take time to get ready because Devontae Smith, he's coming in great.
Yeah.
They have Dallas Goedert, and they have a couple other pieces but Jameson Williams, once he comes back healthy, will be a great addition to that team. So I like that pick because Jameson Williams potentially could not be there on the 19th pick.
Yeah. All right. The Los Angeles Superchargers. It doesn't have the same ring to it as San Diego Superchargers. I personally really like Devontae Wyatt or Jermaine Johnson here. Devontae Wyatt probably a little more just because I think he can play a little bit more of that tackle position. But I think if you put him next to Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, I think that it makes that defensive front so much better, not just against the pass, but against the run. I think that adds a whole nother level of run defense.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Because who's their other edge rusher? We just did that video.
Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack.
Oh, well, no, I thought they had another one that had a lot of sacks as well. Because adding Khalil Mack would be...
Melvin Ingram was one, but it was not there for the last year or two, I think. I forget who that guy was. Who the guy was.
Uchenna Nuwasa? Oh, but he was a linebacker, though. Okay, never mind. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. But yeah. I mean, maybe, but what they need, I mean, they didn't have an issue in the pass defense and getting to the quarterback, but that run stopping was going to be the biggest issue. So I think having Devontae Wyatt would be a solid fit here. If Jordan Davis fell and if if we didn't have the Ravens picking them, then I could honestly also see Jordan Davis going here as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Devontae Wyatt is a good consolation prize. And then up next, the Saints. I think this one is relatively easy. I think Chris Olave is the guy. They could possibly go with a more overall athletic guy in Treylon Burks. But I think Chris Olave is going to give them the route running and precision on the outside that they want. And I think Treylon Burks is a little bit more of a project that they need to mold into into what they want.
Yeah. Yeah, because I could see them, because I agree that tackle needs would be needed. I could see them maybe taking Bernard Raymond. Yeah. But I think at this point, though, the drop off in the tackle size, that they could get that with their second pick. Similar though, I don't think similar to the Falcons earlier. I don't think maybe they could take a quarterback here. But they did just sign Jameis Winston to a couple-year deal. They have a lot of money invested in oh, shoot. Who's their gadget guy?
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. But I think going receiver more, that's a more pressing need. There's a more pressing need in my opinion.
Yeah.
So now moving on then to the Eagles' third pick of the draft. Now they already took Nakobe. They already took a linebacker and a receiver.
Yeah.
Scroll down a little bit here. I think.
What would you think about Andrew Booth Jr. going here?
I mean, I think that would be good. I mean, this is where they have. I mean, with 3 picks, you kind of have we're just going to take the best player available at all 3 picks. Especially after they address 2 of their biggest needs.
Yeah. Another thing too is Jermaine Johnson is still on the board, and he's a guy I really like. He's probably the best edge setter of all the edge defenders in this class. And so he's a little bit of a bigger guy. I think he's 265, 270. But I like him a lot. I think Andrew Booth Jr. is another guy that fits pretty well in that system.
I'm trying to think. And thinking of their division also. They would need to get after the quarterback.
Yeah, they got Dak, Carson Wentz, and then who's the other team?
Daniel Jones.
Oh, Daniel Jones.
I'll defer to you on this one.
I'm a big fan of Jermaine Johnson. David Ajabo just tore his Achilles. Their offensive line is pretty good. They've done a good job of feeding that into it. They obviously don't need a center with Jason Kelsey there, and they just drafted a linebacker in Nakobe Dean. I think Jermaine Johnson is probably the way to go here for them.
All right. Jermaine Johnson the second?
Yeah, Jermaine Johnson the second. Next is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just signed Mitch Trubisky, as you mentioned earlier. I think that their biggest needs are very apparent here. They got to rebuild that offensive line.
That's what if they hadn't signed Mitch Trubisky to this point, I would still be leaning towards taking a quarterback.
Yeah.
But having Mitch Trubisky, he has a very similar deal with Marcus Mariota and the Falcons. Okay, come in this year, play quarterback. Because to me, and this is where a lot of the stuff is coming in, is the teams are probably looking at this quarterback class to be like, let's just get a stopgap, let's save some cap space, not invest a whole first-round pick. And for me, I'm looking at Bernard Raymond, Trevor Penning are going to be the two guys.
I really like Bernard Raymond. Trevor Penning is the guy that everybody kind of raves about, but I think Bernard Raymond is a little less hold-happy. Trevor Penning sometimes gets beat and uses his hands more than he should. I think Bernard Raymond is probably the way to go.
I think that's perfect. And it also looks like this is about, if PFF's rankings are correct, you're getting a guy that's the 13th best overall player at number 20. And so I think that is a good value pick there. Because that's the Steelers' biggest issues. Mitch Trubisky, probably honestly, then he has a lot of talent and he had a really good year, good rookie year with the Bears.
Yeah.
But then I think the Bears kind of just took him downhill. Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the league, and I think I know that division is going to be crazy because the Steelers always seem to just kind of find a way to be in the mix, and I would not be surprised. I would say that they are the worst team in the AFC North, but I would not be surprised if they are there competing at the end of the year.
Well, so that's the thing for me that's crazy is as competitive as the AFC was this year, I think next year it's going to be – you're going to have 14 teams competing for 8 playoff spots in like week 14.
Yeah.
I think because you have the AFC North and the AFC West where all 4 teams are going to be well coached and have talented players that could make a playoff push. And then you have the AFC East where I think everybody but the Jets are really in playoff contention. So that's already 11 teams, and we haven't even talked about the AFC South. Yeah. So that's just kind of – and then you'll have the Colts and the Titans.
And that's where I think both the Jets and the Jaguars are going to make big strides this year. I think they can play spoiler. But, I mean, either the Colts or the Titans are going to win the division, and I'm – Matt Ryan fan. I think he's better than Carson Wentz. I think he's probably going to – I think he's going to fit better into that system personally. And so that'll be very interesting. I also think the Titans – I know I said this last year. They might be on a little bit of a decline, but, I mean, who knows? So we'll have to see. I can tell you, for one thing, being a Nashville, people are not very high on the quarterback right now, so – that if that seeps onto the field, we might see some major changes coming up here. But it's a great point. I mean, this AFC is absolutely. There's really only the Texans is the only team that is a for sure no go. Jets, Jags are going to be most likely a no go. But even the Dolphins. I mean, you can look at the moves.
Everybody else is going to have year 2 quarterbacks or better. And then I mean if you look at sorry, we're going off on a little bit of a tangent, but if you look at AFC West, they have 4 Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks. AFC North, you have Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, right? And then you have Josh Allen, Mac Jones, and Tua in the AFC East, and then you have Matt Ryan, Ryan Tannehill. Those aren't as formidable as some of the other ones, but I think in the offenses that they're in, it's a good combination. So
that's interesting with the AFC South, and I'll show my bias here a little bit. But Matt Ryan is the most elite of those quarterbacks in the AFC South.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's where
I will say that is a low bar, but I think Matt Ryan is
it is a low bar, yes.
I think Matt Ryan is one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks of like of this past generation, because I think the new generation is kind of like the Patrick Mahomes and forward, and then like everybody kind of before that was like this past, and like I just think what he did in Atlanta is not appreciated just because he didn't have some of the success that like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. Or
and they have he had the Super Bowl, which I don't know if you heard about that or anything like that, and so it happened like 5 years ago. But still get reminded about every time I watch a damn Falcons game. Still get reminded about that. But I think people are going to be surprised. He's the last quarterback of like that. It's like old generation, like more of a pure pocket passer. Because nowadays you need to be able to be mobile, and Matt Ryan is not. And so, but kind of getting back on course here. But long story short, that's why I think the Steelers won't take a quarterback. Taking Mitch Trubisky, quarterbacks in this class are not going to compare to the ones that are already in the league right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we're seeing them fall, even though they very well could. I think that'd be an interesting decision. Yeah.
But speaking of Matt Ryan, the quarterback who reminds me most of him in the league right now is actually Mac Jones. I think a lot of people, obviously with the Patriots, compared Mac Jones to Tom Brady. I think Matt Ryan and Mac Jones are much more alike. And I think the Patriots are in a really interesting spot here. They need a lot on the defensive side of the football. I mean, they need every single level, from secondary to linebacker to the defensive front. And I am really interested to see what they're going to do. The guy who I'm kind of leaning towards is Kaiir Elam. I think he can play both man and zone schemes. He's a really athletic guy. And I think he is he's right now, he would probably be the best cornerback on the Patriots roster. However, with Nakobe Dean falling this far, I want to get your opinion. I'm a huge fan of him. However, he's a smaller guy. He's 5'11" or 6 foot, and he's 230. And I'm really curious to see kind of what New England does here with a guy like Nakobe Dean on the board. Do you think that they kind of go against their mold here and draft a smaller, really athletic linebacker instead of the big thumpers that they usually do, or do you think they go with the versatile corner who's still on the board?
Personally, I would think that they would go with the versatile corner, because because they need to have a big, fast linebacker, and Kobe Dean is fast and versatile. I just don't think he'd fit your guys' scheme very well, especially if we're looking at the past two Bills game. Who was the guy that consistently kept burning you guys? And it was going to be the tight end that was over the middle. It was a tight end, right? Not Dawson Knox, but the other guy. Or was he like the slot receiver? Anyways, it was a linebacker that was covering him and couldn't keep up with him, and so.
In those matchups, it was primarily actually a safety.
They're primarily safety. That was like that.
They usually line up a safety on tight ends, especially guys like Dawson Knox. I really like Nakobe Dean. I think he plays a lot bigger than his weight. Because he does his best work against the run, in my opinion, but he can also back up and play in pass coverage. His tape is so good.
Yeah.
If he makes it to 21, I hope New England has the ability to put their ego on the side of like, okay, well, all of our linebackers have to be 6'5" and 250 pounds and be able to dumbbell curl 60 pounds in each hand. I think that those days of the NFL are over. It just doesn't work anymore because Buffalo keeps beating them with speed. I realistically think New England will trade back here, but if Nakobe Dean makes it, I would really like to see them draft him.
Okay. All right. So, I like that either way. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong either way. I was leaning more towards Kaiir Elam, or if you're talking about safety, I do see Lewis Sines there that could potentially help out with that specific matchup. Yeah. But that being said, though, I can honestly see because you're right. If Nakobe Dean does fall this far in this scenario, it would be hard to pass him up. But I don't think they can go wrong here. And I will say also, because I do see receiver need as well. I know New England historically does not take first-round receivers, but taking Treylon Burks here I think also would be a potential interesting option give a big receiver for Mac Jones to throw to.
For me, I like these guys a lot, but I think outside of the guys we've already taken, I think a lot of these guys fall into the second round. I think that's where a lot of the value is in receivers nowadays. Because if you look at contract prices of guys who are taken in the first round versus the second round, the value goes down significantly, and that's usually a lot of their best years is on that rookie deal. Yeah. So I think the Patriots will definitely go after guys like that in the second round. But with Nakobe Dean here, man, this is tough. I feel like I have to take Nakobe Dean.
Okay. I like that. Like I said, I don't think that there's a wrong pick. Well, there's a couple wrong picks. Taking a quarterback, that'd be a wrong pick. But
yeah, especially for New England.
Yeah. But I think taking Nakobe Dean would be great there. Kyer Elam would be. I would say, I know I said Treylon Burks. I think that would be the third pick. I think taking Nakobe Dean or Treylon Burks would Kyer
Elam.
Yeah. Would be the top two picks because you're right. Defensively, those are the big needs that you guys need to address.
I think if you look at the Patriots roster and you look at you got Matt Judon at edge, Christian Barmore at tackle, Isaiah Wynn and Trent Brown are back, and David Andrews are back. They just signed Ty Montgomery, the wide receiver running back guy. I think that if you look at that roster, you're like, okay. Corner, they have Terrence Mitchell and Malcolm Butler, who are not they're starters, but they're nothing special. And you look at linebacker, and it's Jawan Bentley, Mac Wilson, and Cass. I think that's the weakest point, and so addressing that in the first round, I think is good.
Yeah, I agree.
But enough about the Patriots. Everyone's tired of talking about the Patriots. The Green Bay Packers here. I think this O-line needs to be addressed very badly.
Especially since now they have two picks, picking 22nd and then 28th. Yeah, so scroll down. Who are some of the top receivers?
Treylon Burks. Sky Moore is a guy that I really like. Small, shifty receiver. And then after that, you kind of fall into the middle of the second round when you start seeing some of the other guys go off the board, like Jahan Dotson and where are the other guys? George Pickens. There you go.
Oh, okay. All right.
Jalen
George Pickens actually would be a really good one.
Yeah.
To get in the late second round. But anyways, so I say that because I agree with you. I think they need to go offensive line here. I think Trevor Penning would fit well. Or that Zion Johnson as well from Boston College. I know Tyler Linderbaum's still on the board. He would be more of a pure center. I'm pretty sure they're covered at center.
They lost Corey Linsley not this year, but this past year, and so if they want to take the inside out approach, I think that would be a good one. However, with Aaron Rodgers being 38, I think taking Trevor Penning is probably the smart move here, and then protecting his blind side a little more.
I agree with you on that one as well.
Yeah. Okay. So Trevor Penning, Arizona Cardinals. You just said his name. Tyler Linderbaum, I think, is probably one of the bigger needs here. Establish a stronger running game and getting kind of a leader for that offensive line, I think, is what he does. There's also the cornerback side of it. I think Kyer Elam and both of those guys would fit well.
Yeah. This team runs through the they are going to put up a lot of points on the board, and if they don't have a good offense, a good offensive line. And so for me, they have a lot of needs on that interior, as PFF shows as well. Tyler Linderbaum, him falling this far, this is about where I think I can see him going.
Yeah. All right, next up, the Dallas Cowboys, the most hated franchise in the NFL. Offensive line, defensive line, and linebacker are where they have them going. I am a fan here of actually going corner. I think Trayvon Diggs kind of needs a little bit of a running mate. Outside of him, they don't have anybody. And also, too, I think if you look at the board, they would kind of be reaching for some other guys. So. Well,
I agree as well, especially as a Falcons fan, I know Dan Quinn likes big physical corners. Of these corners here, who would you say would be the big physical one? Would that be
Kyrie
Kyrie Elam?
Yeah,
Kyrie Elam?
he's 6'2", 200, 205.
Yeah.
I think that's the one. He very active in the run game as well,
Yeah.
as well as coverage. So.
Dan Quinn likes those big physical guys. The one I would say David Ajabo would be a great pick here, but with his Achilles tear, he's not really going to be playing until 2023. Just with when he tore it. I mean, Cam Akers did come back in 6-7 months, so maybe towards the end of this year, but
yeah.
Do a first-round pick on him.
The other one that I think could be interesting. What about Lewis Seen here? I'll click on his bio, but he is. He has the ability to play as the rangy over-the-top safety, but he also can come down and play in the box over a tight end and play physical. I don't want to say a Keanu Neal type role, but. Because he's not quite that big, but I think he has the ability to play in a versatile scheme like that.
So either one of those two guys would fit well in a Dan Quinn system, especially on the safety for Lewis Sine. You said he'd come over, cover that tight end. Because also, if you're looking at in that division, right, if I'm not mistaken, you got Dallas Goedert with the Eagles. Then you've got who's the tight end for the Giants?
Evan Ingram. I don't know. I don't think he's there.
Oh, is he not there anymore? He was there last year, right? And then
he was.
And then
he is with the Jaguars now.
Oh, okay. And then with Washington, then you have Logan Thomas still there, and then who was the guy that was replacing? I used him a lot on the DraftKings fantasy. He was really good during his time. But yeah, so you'd have big physical receivers. So either one of those guys would fit well matching up against guys in that division. Mm-hmm. Personally, I agree with you. I think Kyrie Elam, would be the better pick here.
Okay, all right, let's do that one. And then the Buffalo Bills here at 25, wide receiver and D-line. I think they also would be interested in adding possibly an offensive line piece here. One of the things that is interesting is David Ajabo. I think the Bills are one of those teams that have the flexibility to allow David Ajabo the kind of medical redshirt year. What do you think of that? What do you think going in here?
Let's see. Who else? Let's see. I'll also scroll down just a little bit there. Defensive interior is what they're saying. I do think that they still need help at the linebacker position as well.
Maybe a little. Tremaine Edmonds is pretty good. To me, I think that a sleeper pick here would be Andrew Booth Jr. Outside of Tre'Davious White, I don't really know what quality they have at corner.
Well, yeah, and that's fair. They do have Jordan Hoyer at safety. I mean, that's one of the best pass defenses in the league. Yeah. I mean, maybe adding depth there. I'm trying to think of because you're right. There's not too much.
Levi Wallace was their number 2, and I think he went to Baltimore. I think he left.
Okay, all right. Scroll down just a little bit. Sorry.
Zion Johnson would be another one. I think that they could improve a guard position, improve that run game.
Imagine, though, I would say, with how shifty... you do have Gabriel Davis, though, who is taking a huge step forward. One of the best player performances that no one will remember in their last game. So maybe Treylon Burks might be a little too much. Yeah. They need to pick up the running game, though, too. But their offensive line is solid. I don't know if that's the thing that's more a scheming issue. Yeah, let's go Andrew Booth Jr.
Andrew Booth Jr.
Yeah.
I think he can come in and make that pass defense. I mean, it was already number 1. But
yeah.
A little bit further ahead, number 1. All right.
And then and you had a good point, too, because then when's the next series of corners? If there's some around their next pick, then maybe they could wait till that next corner.
To me, I think the next one is Roger McCreary, and they have him all the way down at 54.
So that would be their next pick.
Yeah, well, that's right at New England's next pick. So their next pick is like 59.
No, that would be at Buffalo's.
54.
Yeah, because that'd be 25 plus 32 would be 57. Oh,
No,
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So they'd be at 50.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. I thought they were at 26. Okay. All right.
No, yeah.
I didn't
Okay,
know.
so pick 26 is the Titans. Interesting here. You're the Titans expert here. What do you think?
Not an expert. I would love just to see what people in the city would be like, because it'd be a horrible pick. But if they picked a quarterback here, that would be kind of funny just to see everyone celebrating the city. I don't think picking a quarterback here would be the best decision, just considering the fact that they have a lot of other needs as well. Despite what a lot of people say, I know that there were a lot of picks. They do need help in the secondary, in my opinion. I think how great the front seven was for Tennessee, particularly the front four, made up for kind of how weak the secondary was. So somewhere in the linebacker, honestly, actually seeing Lewis sign right there, I think would be a great addition to the team.
Okay.
I get a strong safety. This would be, I think, a good pick to have him there. That also being said, though, their whole team is about running the ball and running the ball through Derrick Henry, keeping him upright, giving him holes to run through. And I'm sitting there looking at Zion Johnson as well. So those to me are going to be my two picks. Lewis signs Zion Johnson. Honestly, probably with a lean towards Zion Johnson, only because the Tennessee offensive line is always hurt. They're always struggling. And yet somehow Derrick Henry's still able to pull off these great feats. And so imagine if they had a healthy offensive line in front of him. I mean, dude could rush for 3,000 yards. Kind of exaggerating, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
I like that thought process. There's a lot of people upset with the quarterback, maybe Malik Willis. I also think Zion Johnson is a great fit.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of a plug and play. I would like for them to possibly solidify like that tackle position, maybe get a swing tackle, but they can address that later in the draft. Because they have had a lot of injuries at the tackle position lately. But I think Zion Johnson is a good fit here.
Well,
he's a guy that's been creeping up draft boards.
And he's nasty too. I mean, he's going to create holes. He's going to work really well within that system.
Yeah. He also can play center too.
Okay, then that would be huge as well. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's I would love to see them pick a quarterback, just because people here in Nashville would be like, "Yay!" Fuck Tannehill. Sorry for swearing, but it'd be like, yeah, that really wouldn't be. I don't think that would be a good thing. That would just put a Band-Aid over all the problems that you guys are having right now. So
yeah. Speaking of putting a Band-Aid over problems, Tom Brady came back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who kind of just kicked the can down the road on when they're going to suck again. But I think that they can do a few things here that might help them. I'm interested to see what they do. But I actually really like one of these wide receivers going here.
Well, so I was wondering about that. So did they not re-sign Chris Godwin, and then also
they franchise tagged him? They franchise tagged him, so they have.
And then Michael Evans is still there. Gronkowski's still there.
No, Gronkowski's a free agent. He hasn't re-signed anywhere yet.
Oh, okay. So Gronkowski's still there.
Yeah.
No, I know. We'll see where he re-signs. Would be kind of shocked if it wasn't with Tampa Bay. But yeah, taking Treylon Burks or Sky Moore would be solid. One of the things, they did lose their guard, so I know you need to keep Tom Brady upright. Who would be the next?
Kenyon Green, but I think that is further away, and they could get a good value later.
Well, yeah.
If you look at their next pick around here, they have Darian Kennard, who can kick into guard. He's a little bit of a smaller tackle.
Scroll up a little bit more, too.
Abraham Lucas, he's definitely more of a tackle, though. He's a bigger guy.
Okay. Yeah, so they'll have a couple of guard positions, and also then you can go down to the third round as well.
Yeah. So I think Treylon Burks is probably the proper pick here. I guess there's really not a proper pick when you're Tampa Bay right now, but
well, is that not so? But is that not Mike Evans?
oh God, no.
It's
He
not.
is he is an AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, but 2 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier.
Oh, okay then. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he has jump ball capabilities, but he can play in the slot. He can play out wide. He can play as an H back. Like he can do a lot of different things.
Yeah. Well, so my one thing then, so you still have Mike Evans, you have Chris Godwin, but then you also, if I'm not mistaken, not saying that these guys compare, but you can rotate them in and out. But you have Tyler Johnson, you have Scotty Miller as well. You still have, and at the tight end position, I would need to double check, but with
Cameron
OJ Howard,
Braid. I think OJ Howard left.
yeah.
Actually, no,
but
OJ Howard left.
But then you still have Cameron Braid as well. So you have my one thing. I feel like that's a lot of receivers. Not saying that Treylon Burks wouldn't fit really well within the system, which would then be just absolutely scary. One of the things I'm looking at for me, I'm looking at Lewis Sine or Jalen Petrie, just because that secondary was vulnerable, or some other cornerbacks potentially that they could add some depth into.
Yeah. My thing with the secondary was it's not that they were bad last year; they just all got hurt.
True, but then worst case scenario, then maybe you're adding some depth as well. Depending on who gets signed back.
I think Jalen Petrie gives more versatility than Lewis Sine. I think he can play both corner and safety.
Yeah.
You want to go that route with Jalen Petrie?
Well, is that what you think is best? Because this is
not necessarily. So like what I think, you have Tom Brady for one more year, maybe two. I think you get as many weapons in your facility that you can. I mean, if you add a guy like Treylon Burks, Tyler Johnson, and Scotty Miller kind of become expendable because you have a guy that can do both of those things. Mm-hmm. But he's also 6'3" and 225 pounds.
And if something happens to Chris Godwin, like how it did last year, then
you're not SOL. And like you can definitely outscore teams in the NFL. It's very hard to keep teams from scoring, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I like the Treylon Burks pick better.
Okay. Let's do that. I think I did the last one where it's like, let's do this. So I like that as well. I don't think either pick is wrong. I mean, we're at this point in the draft where it is. Figure out what's going to be best need for yourself. Mm-hmm. I remember last year when Tampa Bay picked who'd they pick? It was a linebacker from Houston. We're like, who the hell is that? We had no idea. But they found value in him, and it's going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, like that's just at this point in the draft, that's the way that's going to be.
Oh, Joe Tryon, he was from Washington. You're thinking of Peyton Turner that the Saints.
That's who I was thinking of. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Never mind.
But yeah, no, I think also too. Chris Godwin is a franchise tag 1 year deal. Mike Evans is in his 30s now. I think adding another guy to kind of come in like a Treylon Burks, I think is a good.
Is Mike Evans really in his 30s?
Yeah.
Jeez.
He has 8 or 9. Like he's been in the league 8 or 9 years, and every year he's had 1,000 yards.
That's a pretty solid career right there.
Yeah, I mean Hall of Fame career, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But up next, the Green Bay Packers' second first-round pick.
For me, I mean, it's receiver. And it's sitting right there, Sky Moore.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else or anything else you think? I mean, because getting rid of Devontae Adams, Marquez Valdez-Scantling's not there. They don't have much cap space to begin with. So
no, I really like Sky Moore. He's a guy. I sound like Chris Collinsworth. Here's a guy. But he's a guy that can get the ball in space and make people miss. Mm-hmm. And I think he'll be a really good weapon. He's not the outside threat, the 6'4" guy that Devontae Adams was, but I definitely think he's a good pick there.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
All right. The first of 2 picks for the Kansas City Chiefs, who just traded Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins.
You think that they hang on to these 2 picks or they trade up?
But who would they trade up for, in my opinion?
A receiver. After just trading Tyreek Hill.
But I think, so I think that the way that this draft has fallen might be perfect for them.
Okay.
Because Lewis Seen is a guy.
That was a name, yeah, because Tyrann Mathieu is gone, so they need a safety. Okay, all right, so that's one pick.
Yeah.
I think that's one pick we can easily agree on.
This is a guy, Travis Jones. Nobody is talking about Travis Jones. He's a first-round defensive tackle. Everybody talks about Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt and Trayvon Walker in this class. Travis Jones, 6'5", 333. I think he ran a 5-second 40. Mm-hmm. He had 9 sacks, or that was in high school. Sorry, I forget what his sack numbers were in college, but I am a huge fan of Travis Jones, especially in this Kansas City system where you have Chris Jones and then Frank Clark on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay. Well, so
I know that's a bit of a reach, but at 30, I think you're looking for guys.
Some values right there.
Yeah, like some value. And I think Travis Jones might not be the Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
But I think he is pretty close.
So I will say this. What is their receiver situation looking like right now then? So
Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Okay, all right, yeah. No, that's fair.
Nico Hardman. No. That's kind of...
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for answering my question.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, yeah. So I would say then they're absolutely fine then in that scenario. And I think, yeah, really addressing that defense, which is where they need it to be. So, I like that Lewis sign. And then
there are other options. Boye Mafe is a guy that's gotten a lot of steam lately. He's an edge rusher with a lot of speed. Nick Bonito is also the same thing. Nick Bonito is a lot smaller, but the next guy that pops out to me for the Chiefs on this is Travis Jones. I think, especially in that system, or in that division, where you have Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler in the Chargers, and then Javonte Williams.
Javonte Williams. Yeah.
I just think getting a nice run stuffing tackle.
God, that division's loaded. Jesus,
that
division's loaded. It's crazy to think that Kansas City might finish last in that division.
In all honesty, they could. I mean, I think Oakland is number 4 for me, but I think Kansas City might be 3.
Oakland is number 4. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So. But are you good with Travis Jones here?
100%, yeah. And I agree with you, especially then after you listed. I forgot about all their receivers. There's been so many trades and changes. But yeah, Juju Smith coming back because he's still he's only 27, right? He's not super old. Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Like 26 or 27.
Yeah, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a
he also hasn't
receiver.
been able to stay healthy.
That's been an issue. Yeah. So they're fine. Yeah, they do.
They
have
also
a solid
still have Travis Kelce.
Yeah, they still have Travis Kelce. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tyreek Hill, I think getting rid of Tyreek Hill now because he's 29. I think that was the right decision, and they got a lot.
Yeah, he's 28, and they got 5 picks for him. Like that's just crazy.
That 1, a 2, a 4 for this year, if I'm not mistaken, then a 1 and a 2 for next year. I think.
No. I thought it was 5 picks this year. I'll have to look at it later.
Oh, I thought there was 1. I thought there was 1, or maybe not the 1 from next year. Maybe it was a 2 and 4 next year. I thought there was a couple picks
that's
next
possible.
year.
I doubt they gave 2 1s for him.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Cincinnati here. Now, Cincinnati, I would say offensive line, but they have really addressed the offensive line.
Ted Karras, Lyle Collins.
Yeah. They have one more. Oh, the guard from Tampa Bay. Alex Kappa.
Yeah, Alex Kappa. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that offensive line, huge turnaround.
Revitalized already.
Huge turnaround. So, for me, I'm looking at secondary all day because this similar to the Titans, the secondary I think was kind of assisted with how great the defensive front was. So Jalen Petrie is still there.
Daxton Hill is another option.
Hill is still there. Yeah,
those guys are actually really similar. I like Jalen Petrie a little bit more just because I know a little bit more about him. But I know Daxton Hill is a very highly touted safety out of Michigan that has a lot more cover. Or that has a lot of cover ability. Jalen Petrie does as well.
Yeah.
Daxton Hill might just be a little bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jalen Petrie might have more opportunities as a corner which I think the Bengals might need more.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's so. I mean, the Bengals have done a phenomenal job already in this offseason, and it's amazing to think too. I mean, they're bringing back all their star players from last year, and then now they're bringing on even more star players. Yeah. I mean, I know it's way too early, and definitely drinking the Kool-Aid with this comment, but I mean, you saw what they did last year with all the weaknesses that team had. I mean, these guys are now legit They weren't really legit Super Bowl contenders last year and made it to the Super Bowl. They are now legit Super Bowl contenders.
Oh, yeah. Well, they were still like considered a really young team at the beginning of last year, and we kind of talked about that in our pre-draft or our preseason episodes. And they, especially at the end of the year, were blowing teams out of the water with how just explosive and talented they were. So I think if they can shore up a few of those holes, which they've already got one of them pretty much covered up, and I think the secondary is the next one. So
secondary is absolutely the next one. Yes.
Yeah. So Jalen Petrie here, is that what you're good with?
Jalen Petrie, they maybe could do a linebacker. I don't know too much though about Leo Chanel, but
he's a big thumper. He's like 6'2", 260. Like he's a big guy.
But then that being said, honestly, they could find another linebacker. Yeah. I think also linebacker could help there as well. So, but I think right now, who knows what they'll end up doing. But I think Jalen Petrie is going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then the final pick of the Tracy Take Mock Draft 2.0. What do you think? What are you thinking here?
I don't know when the last draft was where there wasn't a quarterback taken. But I think that 2022 will be it. Because, I mean, I'm looking still at Sam Howell and Malik Willis, and I know there's the other QBs, but then I'm also looking at the Lions and all the other needs that they have. Yeah. They took Kayvon Thibodeau earlier, and then you still have Daxton Hill there. You got Boye Mafe. You take a flyer on David Ajabo, because they're in a rebuild now mode. It's like any of those guys I could see them taking. Like if this scenario panned out. I will say, don't they have Jared Goff for another 2 or 3 years as well?
Yes, I'm not sure.
Because they still have the Rams traded him with a couple years left on his contract. So even then, they wouldn't be in a super huge need, and they're probably still 2 years out from really contending. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to take a quarterback. They're picking again in 2 picks right after this, at the second pick of the second round. And so maybe they take a quarterback there.
So I think that there is some merit to taking a quarterback now because you would get a 5th-year option. And so most likely if you're taking a quarterback here, they're going to have a redshirt year. And then you would still get 4 years of them on a rookie contract. So I think there is some merit to taking a quarterback here.
Fair, yeah. Do you think, though, I mean, the Lions are looking for guys that could play now, though. I mean, Jared Goff's still going to be playing, even if they take Malik Willis.
Yeah.
And so,
I think they are. I think they're also going to be looking a little bit more into the future. I think Malik Willis is a guy to consider here. Because I don't think that they're losing too much by taking him here.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And so if they don't take him, who else would you want to see them take right here?
Maybe double up on edge rushers again, and maybe see them take a linebacker as well. Leo Chanel.
A guy I like too that's like kind of way down here is I like Chad Mumma, but Christian Harris is a guy I really like, but they have him way down here.
Dude, he might fall to the 3rd round.
Yeah, maybe. I doubt. If he's there for the Patriots second pick, I would love for that.
It's the Mr. Irrelevant of the first round, and how many of these guys have panned out?
I mean, this was Lamar Jackson was a 32nd pick. N'Keal Harry was also a 32nd pick. So
yeah.
So,
Who would you rather have?
God, you have no idea.
Well, I know this goes against what I just said, but I mean, you have a good point though with Malik Willis, if that's the guy. Is Malik Willis the clear-cut QB1?
Well, they have Sam Howell ahead of him, but I think so. I think if you look at all the guys in the quarterback class, I'm like, well, like Desmond Ridder played at Cincinnati and like he was fairly inconsistent in the bigger games. Sam Howell had a really bad last year at North Carolina. Granted, North Carolina was really bad. I think Malik Willis has consistently shown on tape that how athletic and how strong his arm is. His level of play ranks down with Desmond Ridder, but I think if you can just teach him football and kind of help him use his tools to the best of his ability, I think he's the best one. There's not really a guy that like I can be like, oh yeah, there's no Trevor Lawrence in this class.
Yeah. And heck, even if it wasn't Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson was going to be that guy. Zach Wilson would have been a clear number one pick if it wasn't for Trevor Lawrence. Yeah.
And so that's I think Malik Willis, number 32, I think he's worth taking a flyer on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think now would be a good time to take, especially with how everything's panned out, because what other teams would now legitimately take a quarterback now that hasn't already signed? Like, I'm looking at all these other teams here, and I don't see any team that would legitimately take a quarterback.
Pittsburgh, New Orleans.
See, but I don't think either of those teams would now after they've just re-signed Jameson Wilson and then Mitch
in the second round, yeah, but
in the second round, maybe
not in the first, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean Carolina.
Some people say Houston might.
I can see Carolina doing it in the second round, but once again, then Detroit's picking 2 picks from now, so that's what's interesting about it.
Let's go with Malik Willis here. I just think that makes sense.
Oh, I get it.
I also think too that they could trade up a little bit, but
they could. Yeah, there's a guy that they really like. Take that 32nd and 34th pick.
So
yeah. But thanks for watching our video sponsored by PFF.
I wish. That'd be great.
That would be great. And so I hope we don't. Yeah, I hope there wasn't any copyright issues doing all that.
I doubt it. I've seen people do it before.
Oh, I know. No, I'm absolutely fine. I wouldn't care either way. Like, we're broke. We don't have any money.
Yeah,
what are you going to sue us for? Our laptop?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I hope everybody enjoyed that. It was a little bit longer, I think, than we originally intended, but we just wanted to kind of get our 2 cents in on the players and kind of what the teams needed. I personally enjoy mock drafts the most out of just about anything we do. When the season comes, it's a lot of fun, but it's a little bit stressful trying to get everything coming out. And with the mock drafts, I love sitting down and just evaluating the players and what the teams need and whatnot. So that's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
So.
No, same here. I really like that compared to the last the format that we did. I like that format a lot more, where we're talking and debating, kind of going with it by the seat of our pants and just kind of hearing your thoughts on it instead of it being like a little bit more scripted. So let us know your thoughts on which ones you liked more. That format or the one where we kind of pre-pick and like these are our thoughts and this is who we picked. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that. That was fun. Thank you guys for making it this far. If you have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Tyler and I are trying to hit 400 subscribers by the draft. We don't know if we'll hit it, but if you could help us reach that goal, we would very much appreciate it. And other than that, leave a comment down below on what you thought of this mock draft, and we will see you guys next time.